Hey y'all, I'm Wilson. Welcome to my little shop here. Got this little bathroom vanity that we're working on. Started this thing yesterday and we are 2 videos in. The first video, we came over here to the arm saw and cut out our frames. The second video, we came over here to the table saw. We dadoed our side stiles. And then we pocket drilled everything and put everything together. But right now I need to start cutting out some parts. But the first thing I need to do is make a list. Now I've already come in here and made my list. Got me a little list written down on the plywood there, and I'm gonna sit y'all up here on my stand, my custom camera stand, and we're gonna go over how I got my list on this. Let me get it to where y'all can see maybe. Alright, now you can get your list off your paperwork, or you can come back and get your list off the back of the face frames after you've got them built. If you're starting out, sometimes it's a lot easier to just go ahead and get your face frames figured out, get them cut, put together, and then come and measure off them to cut all your parts. If you've been doing it a while, you can do it off your paperwork. But if you're a one-man shop like me, sometimes it's just as easy, especially on a small, just one little vanity. It's just as easy to whoop your frames together, then come back, knock out your list, and get everything cut. Anyway, that's what we're doing. I already got my list of what I do. For my ends, I already know my height on my ends. They're going to be 35 1/4. I know my depth. My cabinet's going to be 21 inches deep. I've got a 1/4 inch back. I've got a 3/4 inch face frame with a 1/4 inch dado. So my ends are actually going to be 20 1/4. My bottoms, they don't go in a dado, so they're going to be 20. And whatever length they need to be. Now for my bottoms, I measure from inside to inside on the dados, add a 1/2 inch to that because I'm dadoing my ends a 1/4 inch in on them. So from inside to inside, add a 1/2 inch. Then I've got a toe kick board, and I've got a hanger rail, and a couple of cleats. And we'll get to the cleats and all that later. I already know what size they need to be. But for my hanger rail and my toe kick board, they're going to butt from plywood to plywood. They're not going in a dado. So I'm still going to come again and measure from inside of the dado to inside. But that's the measurement they need to be. I'm not adding anything. Alright. So we got that. We got the list. I've already came and cut my backs. I'm cutting everything on the arm saw here. Let me turn y'all so y'all can see the arm saw. Now when I turn this arm saw on, it's going to be kind of loud. So I'm going to try to do my talking. I'm going to try to do my talking and turn it on, cut, then turn it off and do the rest of my talking. Alright, so let's see. Can y'all see? I think you can. There we go. Yeah, y'all can see. Alright. Sorry y'all, it's late at night here. So if I get a little tongue-tied, twisted here, y'all forgive me. Alright, let me get my tape measure so I don't forget it. We'll get our list over here. Let me move these frames and put them here so they're out of our way. Alright, now I've already cut my backs. Like I say, I went ahead and cut my backs because when I'm cutting them on the arm saw, or not the arm saw, when I'm cutting them on the panel saw, I told y'all I was going to get confused. When I'm cutting them on the panel saw, 1/4 inch wants to kind of warp and twist in, and I have to hold it just right, push it in just tight with my foot, and hold it out a little bit to get the cut started, or it'll flex and it won't cut all the way through. That's the worst thing about this panel saw here, is trying to start off on a piece of 1/4 inch. When you're cutting the end square, it wants to flex a little bit on you. But other than that, I love having a panel saw. I don't know how many of y'all have had a chance to work on one, but they're really great to have in the shop. I usually cut everything on a table saw, but my table saw only has a 30-inch rip capacity. I was going to get another fence for it, but then I had an opportunity to buy this, and I did, and I've never looked back. All right, now let me figure out what I'm doing here. My shop is kind of small, and sometimes moving plywood around can be a little awkward. Now, like I say, I don't know how many of y'all have had a chance to work on a panel saw before, but these things, the ones like this, do not move side to side. It only goes up and down, but I can pull these pins and turn the saw and then push the board through if I want to do a rip cut. I'm not going to do any of that tonight. I'm just going to cross cut everything. I'm set up to where I can do it like this, and I don't have to do the turn, but that's what it does. It'll turn either way, and you can do your rips that way. Now also, if you're interested, this thing has 2 pins right here. I can pull those pins out, and this whole assembly just comes out of there, and I've got another plate that's got a router mount on it that I could put in here, so I could change this to a router real simply, but I don't have a router set up. I've never used one with this. I just like it for my cross cuts. But anyway, let's get started here. One of my favorite things is plywood, cutting the plywood square. If you've ever got plywood that's out of square, you know if you go to cut it on the table saw, it's just going to transfer on down the board. You've got to cut that end square before you can get on the table saw with it. With this right here, with the panel saw, I can trim my end, it squares it right off, and I can go right into it. Now I've got a gauge right here. I've actually got an 8-foot gauge on there. This panel saw's got a 10-foot bed. I've got this 8-foot fence, 8-foot gauge added onto it with a couple of stops. And I've got this that I've set up as a little rig job stop, and it works just as good as the stops I've got on there. But anyway, I've got one stop set up here at 35 1/4. That's how tall my base ends need to be. Now I've got to have 6 ends plus another end that I'm going to turn into my finished end. Y'all will see how I do that later on. We'll do another video as we go down the road. Like I say, I'm going to try to do the whole thing on video. But anyway, I'm going to need a total of 7 of these cut out of this 1/2-inch plywood. Now I've got one bottom that is longer than 35 1/4. And that's this cabinet right here. Like I say, my end's got to be 35 1/4. I need 7 of them. I got this one bottom that's got to be 36 and, let's see, 36 and 9/16. So I'm going to cut that first, and you'll see what I mean. Because I can get 5 ends. I can get 5 ends out of a sheet. So this is what we're going to do. squared my end off, and I came back and I cut the 36 and 9/16. That's the length of my bottom. Now my bottom's got to be 20 inches wide. So I'm going to cut this at 21 because I'm going to come back and cut this. I'm going to come back and cut this here, the factory edge. I'm going to cut that off. So let me just show you what I'm doing. I'm going to get started on here. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is just set this one. I'll set it right there. Set it to the side. Alright, that was my bottom. Now I need to get the 7 ends. Alright, for this I'm going to use my stop. I'm going to set it to the side. Alright, that's got the heights cut on all my ends. I've got this left over. We'll just set it to the side. Now, like I say, I'm going to cut that factory end off. My ends have got to be 20 and a quarter. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut these wide sheets. I'm going to start off and I'm going to cut these at about 21. I split those in half. So now I've got one end that's been cut on each board, and I've got a factory end on each board. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my temporary stop, and I'm going to set it up. I got it set up at 20 1/4, and we're going to cut those again. That's got all those cut to size. Now y'all see why I did that as far as cutting the first one at 21. That allowed me to still have the most off fall that I can get off of it. So I can still use something like that. I don't know what for, but I can use it for something. Anyway, that's got my ends cut out. My backs I cut out before I started this video. Now I got to cut my bottoms out. But I don't think I'm going to make y'all stick around for that, because y'all can't hear me talk when that saw's going on. And y'all get the gist of what I'm doing. I've got my ends cut out. You know how I got the measurements from my bottoms. You know what they're going to be. So I'm going to cut them out after I turn the video off. And the next video, we will be getting the face frame and the finished end ready to go in the spray room. So if y'all are watching, I sure do appreciate it. And I'm sorry I'm getting a little tongue-tied. It's late at night, and I'm preoccupied over here on the saw. I'm trying to keep from mooning y'all, because as I get older, my gut gets bigger, my ass gets flatter, and all that bending over, pushing my damn pants down. But anyway, enough about that. That is the video for tonight. And we will see you on the next time. And we'll start getting these, like I say, we'll get these put together and sanded. We're going to put them all together, screw them together, sand them as one. Then we'll take them back apart, finish them, get all the cabinets and everything put together. But anyway, that's the video for tonight. I sure appreciate y'all watching if y'all made it this far. And we will see y'all on the next one.